The research station floated quietly in the black sea of space, a lonely shape surrounded by a million stars. Inside, long silver corridors hummed with the low sound of engines and the faint whisper of air filters. Dr. Elias Ward walked through the main laboratory, his boots echoing against the metal floor. He was a human geneticist, invited by the Alien Council to help with a strange and urgent problem. Their female soldiers were losing strength, stamina, and the ability to reproduce. After years of war, no medicine, no therapy, and no alien science had been able to reverse it. Elias had been working for weeks, running tests, comparing genetic codes, and studying blood samples under glowing scanners. The alien females were tall, strong, and elegant, with silver blue skin and eyes that reflected light like gemstones. Yet in their cells, something vital was fading away, a weakness written deep in their DNA. Elias adjusted his holographic screen and leaned closer. A single line of genetic data caught his attention, a strange reaction when combined with a sample of human DNA. It was unexpected, almost impossible. The human DNA didn't just blend with the alien code. It seemed to fix damaged areas, make them stronger, and boost energy production inside every cell. He sat back in his chair, stunned. This wasn't a cure. It was something more. If the results were correct, human DNA could give alien females far greater strength than they naturally possessed. It could turn them into something entirely new. Elias ran the tests again, this time using 3 different alien blood samples. Every time the result was the same. Strength, speed, and health skyrocketed. It was like finding a missing piece in a puzzle no one knew existed. The door behind him slid open with a soft hiss. Kayla entered, a young alien soldier assigned to assist him in the lab. She was curious, always asking questions about Earth, humans, and the strange languages they spoke. Today, she brought a fresh set of samples in a silver container. Her gaze fell on the glowing screen, and her eyes narrowed slightly. "Is that my blood?" she asked, her voice calm but edged with curiosity. Elias nodded. "Yes, part of it. And something unusual happened when I tested it with human DNA." Kayla stepped closer, her tall frame casting a shadow across the desk. "What happened?" she asked. Elias hesitated, not sure if he should explain everything yet. Finally he said, "Your cells became stronger, much stronger, faster to heal, faster to react, almost like a super soldier." She tilted her head, processing his words. "Is that dangerous?" she asked quietly. Elias looked at the screen again. It could be dangerous, or it could be the most important discovery in decades. Later that night, the lab was almost empty. Most of the station's crew had gone to rest, leaving the corridors silent. Elias stayed at his desk, running more simulations. The data was too strange, too powerful to ignore. Suddenly, his screen flickered. Lines of code flashed for a moment. Then a message appeared in bold red letters. "They don't want you to know the real reason." Elias froze, his eyes scanning the empty room. The message disappeared as quickly as it appeared. He checked the system logs. No trace of the intrusion. Someone had accessed his terminal without permission, and whoever it was, they knew about his research. A faint sound came from the hallway. Slow footsteps. Getting closer, Elias quickly locked the data files and turned off the main display. Kayla stepped into the room, holding 2 cups of steaming liquid. "You're still working?" she asked, handing him one. "Yes," he replied, forcing a calm tone. "Just finishing the analysis." She sat on the edge of the desk, sipping her drink, her eyes scanning his face. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said softly. Elias forced a smile. Just tired, but inside his mind was racing. If human DNA could turn alien females into something stronger than nature intended, then who would control it? And why would someone warn him not to find the real reason? Kayla noticed his silence and set her cup down. "You should rest, Doctor," she said. "Tomorrow we have a council briefing. They'll want to hear your progress." As she left the room, Elias turned the display back on. The DNA sequence glowed on the screen like a secret waiting to be uncovered. Somewhere out there, someone was watching his every move, and deep inside, he knew this discovery could change the balance of power across the galaxy. But whether it would save them or destroy them was a question no one could yet answer. Asterisk. The next morning, the council chamber was lit by a pale blue glow from the Figua. Massive windows overlooking the planet below. Elias stood at the center, surrounded by towering alien officials dressed in long metallic robes. Their faces were calm, but their eyes watched him like predators studying prey. Kayla stood a few steps behind him, her hands clasped behind her back. The head of the council, Lord Vereen, leaned forward on his throne-like chair. Dr. Ward, he said in a deep, slow voice, "We have reviewed your preliminary results." Elias nodded, keeping his tone neutral. "They are promising. But they raise questions," Vereen continued. "We need to understand the limits and the possibilities." The words limits and possibilities lingered in Elias's mind. He had heard similar language before, in military briefings, not medical discussions. This discovery was meant to help restore health, not create weapons, Elias said carefully. A faint smile crossed Varen's lips. "Health and strength are two sides of the same blade, Doctor." Kayla's eyes shifted between Elias and the council. Sensing the tension building in the room, Elias presented his findings, showing how human DNA repaired damaged alien cells, increased muscle density, and boosted reaction speed. The council members listened in silence, but their stillness was the kind that hides sharp interest. When he finished, Vereen stood. "We will provide you with more subjects for testing. Begin immediately." Back in the lab, Elias paced the floor. "Subjects?" he muttered under his breath. "They make it sound like a breeding program." Kayla placed a data pad on the desk. "They've already sent volunteer files. All female soldiers." Elias stopped and looked at her. "Do you know what this means?" "They want to use this in combat, to make super soldiers." Kayla lowered her voice. "Doctor, you don't understand. Our wars are far from over." Elias shook his head. "That's not the point. This changes who you are as a species. Later." That day, Kayla underwent another scan. Elias compared her new results to her first ones and felt a chill. Her strength had increased threefold in less than a week. Her reflexes were nearly inhuman, her endurance almost limitless. She didn't seem tired, in fact. She looked more alive than ever. That night, as Elias worked alone, the mysterious message returned on his screen. They will use them to win, but not to save. Elias's fingers tightened on the edge of the console. He looked over his shoulder. The lab was empty. He quickly copied the genetic data to a secure chip and hid it in his coat. When Kayla returned, she noticed his tense expression. "What's wrong?" she asked. Elias hesitated. "Kayla, if someone tried to control you, change your mind, would you know?" She frowned. "Control me? Like mind control?" "Yes," Elias said. "It's possible that DNA modification could be altered to make soldiers obey commands without question." Kayla stared at him for a long moment, then spoke in a low voice. "There are stories, rumors, of soldiers who came back from experiments stronger, but different." Elias's mind raced. The council's interest was clearer now. This wasn't just about strength. It was about creating the perfect weapon. As Kayla turned away, Elias glanced at the hidden chip in his coat. If his suspicions were correct, they were running out of time. The council's polite smiles were only a mask. Behind them, something dangerous was already in motion. The training arena echoed with the sound of clashing metal and heavy boots striking the ground. Rows of alien soldiers stood along the edges, watching as Kayla stepped into the center. Her silver-blue skin glistened under the bright lights, her eyes sharper than Elias had ever seen. She carried no weapon, only her own body, which now seemed like a living blade. The first challenger, a veteran warrior twice her size, charged forward. Kayla moved before the audience could blink, her arms snapping up to deflect his strike. With a single twist, she sent him crashing to the floor, his weapon skidding across the arena. Gasps filled the air. Elias, watching from the observation deck, felt his stomach tighten. This wasn't just improvement, this was transformation. One by one, more challengers entered. Each one fell faster than the last. Kayla's speed blurred her movements, her strikes were precise, and her recovery time was instant. By the end, the crowd wasn't cheering, they were silent, stunned by what they had seen from the shadows of the viewing platform. Lord Vereen and two council members exchanged quiet words. Elias could not hear them, but he could read their expressions, satisfaction mixed with greed. Varen's gaze drifted to Elias, and a faint smile curved his lips. Elias looked away, his hands gripping the railing tighter. After the trials, Kayla walked into the lab for her post-training scans. She looked at Elias and smiled faintly. I didn't feel tired, not even a little. Elias ran the tests, his heart sinking as the numbers appeared. Her muscle density had doubled again. Her neural reaction speed was far beyond the range of any natural being. It wasn't possible. And yet, it was happening right in front of him. Then, without warning, the lab door slid open, and a tall figure stepped inside. It was Commander Threx, head of the station's security. He placed a small black vial on the counter. This, he said in a cold voice, is Phase 2. Elias frowned. What's in it? Threx didn't answer directly. Administer it to Subject Kayla. Orders from the council. Before Elias could protest, Threx leaned closer. It will make her even stronger and ensure her loyalty. When Threx left, Kayla looked at the vial, then at Elias. Her eyes narrowed. Loyalty? What does he mean? Elias turned the vial in his hand, the liquid inside glowing faintly green. I think they're trying to turn you into something more than a soldier, he said quietly. Something they can control. That night, Elias sat alone in his quarters. The vial on the table in front of him, he replayed the message from the unknown source in his mind. They will use them to win, but not to save. The words felt heavier now. Kayla's life, and maybe the fate of her people, was balanced on what he decided next. In the darkness of the station, somewhere deep in the council's private chambers, plans were being made, and Elias knew that whatever Phase 2 was, it would change everything. The question was, would it change Kayla into a savior, or into a weapon that could never be stopped? Asterisk. The laboratory lights flickered as the council's orders arrived. A full directive mass testing on volunteer female soldiers was to begin within 24 hours. Elias read the document twice, hoping he had misunderstood, but the meaning was clear. They wanted Phase 2 on everyone. Kayla stood near the observation window, her reflection merging with the stars beyond. They're not asking, are they? She said softly. Elias shook his head. No, they're making it law. The next morning, the volunteers arrived. Dozens of tall, strong alien women stepped into the sterile chambers. Unaware of the risk, Elias's chest felt tight as he watched the medics prepare the vials of Phase 2. The liquid shimmered under the lights, beautiful and dangerous at the same time. Kayla approached him quietly. You said Phase 2 changes loyalty. What if it changes more than that? Elias lowered his voice. If my theory is right, it won't just make them stronger, it will strip away their free will. Kayla's eyes hardened. Then we have to stop it. The first injection was given to a soldier named Cerise. At first, nothing happened. Then within minutes, her eyes glowed faintly, her breathing slowed, and her posture became unnaturally stiff. When Elias tried speaking to her, she didn't answer. She simply stood still, waiting for orders. The council officials clapped quietly. Satisfied, one of them whispered to Lord Vereen, perfect obedience and no hesitation. Elias heard those words and felt a chill crawl down his spine. Hours later, Kayla slipped into the lab carrying a stolen datapad. She set it on the table, her voice urgent. I found this in the council's secure files. They've already planned an entire army of Phase 2 soldiers. Elias scanned the documents, deployment schedules, target planets, even lists of who would be selected for modification. It wasn't just an experiment. It was a blueprint for conquest. That night, Kayla woke from a violent nightmare, her heart pounding. She had seen herself in the dream, wearing black armor, leading an army, and destroying entire cities without feeling anything. The fear stayed with her. She went straight to Elias. "We can't let them do this. Not to me, not to anyone." Elias knew they had little time. Security would soon be increased, and once the Phase 2 program went fully operational, there would be no going back. He began copying the entire research database, his fingers moving fast over the console. Every second felt like a countdown. Suddenly, the lab door hissed open, and Commander Threx walked in, his cold gaze locked onto the console. "What are you doing, Doctor?" Elias forced a calm voice. "Backing up the data. Standard safety protocol." Threx stepped closer, his shadow stretching across the floor. "You're not authorized to move it off the station," he said. Elias didn't answer. Kayla positioned herself between Threx and the console, her hand resting on the hilt of her training blade. The silence stretched for several heartbeats. Then Threx smirked and stepped back. "Careful, Doctor. Too much curiosity can be dangerous." When he left, Elias and Kayla exchanged a look. They both knew the clock was ticking faster now. Somewhere in the depths of the station, soldiers were already lining up for injections, and above them, the Council was smiling. Phase 2 had begun, and stopping. It might require more than just escape. It might require a war. The air in the lab felt heavier than usual. Elias worked in silence, his hands moving quickly as he transferred the stolen DNA data to a small encrypted drive. Kayla stood near the door, her ears tuned to every sound in the corridor. The station was too quiet, the kind of quiet that hides danger. "I found us a way out," Kayla whispered, her voice low. She handed him a small card with a glowing symbol. "A smuggler ship in Dock 6 leaves tonight. They'll take us to a neutral system, no questions asked." Elias looked at her. "What's the catch?" "They want something in return," she said. "The complete DNA formula." Elias hesitated. "If this falls into the wrong hands, it's over." Kayla's jaw tightened. "If we stay here, it's over for sure." That night, they moved through the station's maintenance tunnels. The metal walls were narrow and cold, lit only by the faint red glow of emergency strips. Every distant footstep made Elias's pulse quicken. Kayla walked ahead, silent and alert, her blade strapped to her back. Halfway to Dock 6, they heard voices. 2 security officers were blocking the tunnel ahead. Kayla signaled for Elias to wait, then slipped forward like a shadow. Within seconds, both guards were unconscious on the floor. Elias stepped over them, trying not to think about how easily she had done it. When they reached the docking bay, the smuggler ship was already powered up. Its hull was scratched and old, but its engines hummed with readiness. A short, broad alien with 4 eyes greeted them at the ramp. "You have what I asked for?" The smuggler growled. Elias held up the drive. "First, get us out of here." They were halfway up the ramp when a loud alarm blared across the station. Red warning lights flashed, and the automated voice announced, "Security breach. Seal all exits." Kayla spun toward the sound of boots pounding against the floor. Dozens of armed soldiers stormed into the docking bay, their weapons raised. The smuggler cursed, shoving Elias toward the ship. Kayla moved to hold the soldiers back, her movements a blur of speed and precision. Blaster fire lit the bay like a storm of light. Elias ducked behind a crate, clutching the drive tightly. A stun blast hit Kayla in the side, but she kept fighting. One soldier after another fell, but there were too many. Another shot caught her in the leg, and she stumbled. 2 guards tackled her to the ground, forcing her arms behind her back. "Kayla!" Elias shouted, but before he could reach her, Commander Threx appeared from the smoke. He grabbed Elias by the collar and pulled him away from the ramp. "You really thought you could run, Doctor?" Threx said with a cold smile. Elias tried to break free, but the guards pinned his arms. The smuggler's ship engines roared. then suddenly shut down as security clamps locked onto the hull. The docking bay doors sealed shut, trapping them inside. Elias's plan had failed, and now Kayla was in enemy hands. Threx leaned close, his voice low. "You want her alive? Then give me the formula." Elias looked at Kayla, restrained, wounded, still glaring at her captors. His mind raced, torn between saving her now or keeping the formula out of the council's hands forever. The council chamber was darker than usual. Tall pillars rose into shadows, lit only by the pale glow of the planet outside. Elias stood in the center, his hands bound, the encrypted DNA drive hidden inside his boot. Kayla was beside him, shackled at the wrists, her armor gone, replaced by a plain gray uniform. Lord Varen's voice echoed through the hall. "You have something we want, Doctor. Give it to us. And she lives." Elias's jaw tightened. "And if I refuse?" Varen smiled. "Then she serves us anyway. Phase 2 will take care of her loyalty." Two guards stepped forward, holding a syringe filled with the green liquid. Kayla's breathing quickened, her eyes flicking toward Elias. He could see the fear she was trying to hide. In that moment, the choice felt impossible. Before the guards could inject her, the chamber doors exploded inward. A deafening blast threw soldiers off their feet. Smoke poured into the room, and through it came a group of rebel fighters in dark armor. Blaster fire lit the air, shouts and metal clashes filling the space. Elias dropped to the floor, using the chaos to pull the drive from his boot. Kayla twisted against her shackles, snapping the metal with a strength that startled even herself. She grabbed a fallen soldier's weapon and leapt into the fight. Her movements were a blur, striking, dodging, breaking through enemy lines. Lord Varen shouted orders, but the noise drowned his voice. A stray shot hit the control console, triggering a deep rumble in the walls. The lights flickered, and the automated voice announced, "Warning, reactor core unstable, evacuation required." Elias ran toward Kayla, ducking under collapsing debris. She was holding off 3 guards at once, her eyes burning with determination. "We have to go." Elias shouted. She nodded, but instead of running, she pushed him toward the exit. "I'll hold them. Get the data out of here." Elias hesitated. "Not without you." Another explosion shook the chamber, sending shards of metal raining down. Kayla's voice was steady but urgent. "If they get the formula, it won't matter if I live. Go." A guard lunged at Elias from behind, but Kayla intercepted, knocking him unconscious with a single blow. Elias ran through the smoke, clutching the drive. Behind him, he heard Kayla's battle cry as she fought her way toward the collapsing hallway. As he reached the shuttle bay, a massive blast ripped through the council tower. The shockwave threw him forward, and he turned to see flames consuming the upper levels. But there was no sign of Kayla. Elias boarded the nearest shuttle, slamming the hatch shut as the station's alarms wailed. The engines roared to life, pulling him away from the chaos. Through the viewport, he saw the council's stronghold crumbling into fire and darkness. He gripped the drive tightly, his mind racing. If Kayla had survived, she would find him. If she hadn't, then he carried not just her last hope, but the only weapon that could stop the council. The shuttle drifted through the cold silence of space. Elias sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the encrypted DN, a drive in his hands. Its small metallic surface felt heavier than any weapon. It held the power to create an unstoppable army, or to cure an entire species. Outside the viewport, the shattered remains of the council station floated in the distance, glowing faintly in the light of the nearby star. Elias's thoughts kept returning to Kayla, the way she had stood her ground in the chamber, the way she had pushed him to safety. He didn't know if she had survived the destruction, but he knew she had given him a purpose. The console beeped suddenly, breaking the silence. A transmission signal appeared on the screen, marked unknown source. Elias hesitated, then opened the channel. A distorted voice filled the cabin. "Dr. Ward, we know you have it." The voice said slowly, "Give us the formula, or we will come for you." Elias's grip tightened on the drive. "Who are you?" he demanded. The voice ignored the question. "There are forces far greater than the Council, and they want what you carry." The signal cut abruptly, leaving only the soft hum of the shuttle's engines. He sat back, mind racing. If he destroyed the data, the threat might end, but so would the chance to save Kayla's people. If he kept it, he would be hunted across the galaxy, and if it fell into the wrong hands, entire worlds could burn. He placed the drive into the secure storage slot and locked it. Then he set the shuttle's course for the far edge of known space. Somewhere out there, he would find allies or enemies who understood what this discovery meant. As the stars stretched into long streaks under the pull of hyperspace, Elias whispered to himself, "This isn't over." Far behind him, in the dark wreckage of the station, a faint distress beacon pulsed, and if anyone had been close enough to hear it, they might have recognized the voice calling for help.